Do you ever feel like you're stuck in a world where so few things make sense and your instinctual behaviors are being trained out of you? The people around you seem to understand social norms like it's a logical thing, which makes you question your own sanity, and it leads to a lot of self-loathing and negative self-talk.
Oh my goodness. I love Lena's page so much. The way Lena puts things into words, I can't, wow. I'm someone who spent 30 years living life a certain way and definitely feeling like I'm the only one that feels these things. And then about 2 years ago, I realized I had ADHD, and about 6 months ago, I realized I'm autistic. And even right now, I'm trying to put on a face that's just more aesthetically pleasing, because even now, I still don't have the courage to intentionally not mask. But Lena does that, and that is amazing. And in particular, they put into words a lot of the things that I felt over the years that I just didn't know how to express. And every single post, I go, wow, how did you express that in words? I don't even know. And this phrase, I really enjoy being in people's presence without the pressure to engage. Just, I want to sit in a big group of friends and they all talk, and then I just chime in when I want.
I just want to show you what a conversation between someone with ADHD and someone that's neurotypical goes like when you're trying to explain what executive dysfunction is. So sometimes there's something that I want to do, but I physically can't do it. Like I can't get up to do it. Oh, like are you sick? Like you're too tired to get up? No, I'm not sick. My brain just won't let me do anything that I want to do. Just get up and do it. No, I'm sorry, you don't understand. I can't get up and do it, no matter how badly I want to do the thing. Well, actually, you can. It just sounds like you're being lazy.
Hi, I've just made another soul-crushing realization about ADHD that I have to share so that you can wallow in misery with me. We know that ADHD brains are not motivated by traditional reward systems, but instead by urgency. It's why the idea of a rough draft never made any sense to me. I can't start a paper unless it's due tomorrow. I can't clean until I'm living in filth. I can't get gas unless I'm on E. I won't wash my hair until dry shampoo doesn't work. And now in my adult life, I take on way too much all of the time so that all of the things become urgent, because if they're not urgent, I can't do them.
What is the craziest thing about having ADHD? I'd say the craziest part is whenever we don't have a neurotypical telling us how to do things and what we can and can't achieve, we end up inventing light bulbs and becoming the greatest Olympians of all time. Are you saying that if you have ADHD, you have a greater chance of changing the world? Historically, we're the only ones that do. Okay, you might be right, but why do you think that is? Because we have a heightened sense of the human experience. We experience the most basic things in life very differently. I mean, just look at the ADHD symptoms.
I have so much to do, but I can't remember what it is I need to do, but I know that I have a lot of stuff to do.
I don't know, it's just, oh, I'm supposed to be at the dentist. Where did Bruce come from? I'll see you later.
Said that it started at 2:30. It doesn't start at 2:30. It starts at 2 o'clock. I sent them an email, but they haven't responded, and it's just who says that? Who gets that time wrong? I don't understand, no, it just feels like...
It's entirely possible that
I was diagnosed with ADHD in elementary school, and I was prescribed Adderall, which was a godsend because my grades just skyrocketed. Because I could finally focus on trading my Adderall for the test answers. Yeah.
If there's one thing that I am so fucking grateful for is that my neurodivergent ADHD brain is I can keep myself company, which is just fucking beautiful, really. So being able to learn that was major. So I'm actually proud of myself for that.
Buy yourself a planner and just write out your whole schedule and make sure you stick to it. That's the important part.
Don't take your shoes off when you walk in the door, or you'll lose your momentum and won't be able to wash the dishes.
So I just read something super cool about ADHD and I want to share it with all you guys. I read it in this article written by Emily Sinclair Montague. This theory that she's come up with is backwards funnel. I'm going to draw it because it'll be easier for me to explain. So neurotypical people have a funnel, and basically what happens is lots and lots and lots of information comes in. They can make conscious sense of it all and can have one clear thing come out the bottom in form of an actionable plan. For someone with ADHD, they have the same amount, if not more, information coming in, but instead of being consciously able to narrow each of these things down into one actionable step, a person with ADHD will take that one input and turn it into 20 things. So not only are we suffering the reversal of a neurotypical system, we are actually unable to pick one of the options to know where to start or where to go. Because in our brains, each of these tasks are equally important to us. Whoops, made it into art because my brain made me do it.
5 terms or labels that helped me when I started looking into neurodiversity, and maybe they'll help you too. Number 1 is dyspraxia. It impacts motor skills, balance, and coordination, and it may contribute to the tendency to bump into things, lose balance, drop things, etc. Number 2 is echolalia. It is the repetition of phrases, words, or sounds after hearing it. I spoke in another video about how I used to repeat the phrase you when I was learning English, and that's probably what this was. Number 3 is hyperlexia. It is the unexpected advanced reading ability in kids compared to what's expected of them at that age. It's often paired with an increased interest in numbers and letters. And number 4 is misophonia. It's when you have intense negative emotional responses to specific sounds like someone's chewing, breathing, or fidgeting, etc. It may be felt as rage or a flight or flight response. And number 5 is parallel play. You probably know this in the context of children, but it really helped me to understand that it's applicable in adulthood too. It's when you do an activity alongside another person but not interact with them directly.
For like 2 or 3 people. And what about sleep? But if I do, it'll be for like 2 to 3 hours or like 12 to 13.
My daily routine with ADHD. Wake up. Do fucking nothing for 5 hours. Panic. Do stuff in a panic for 1 to 2 hours. Hyperfixate on one thing for 4 hours. Make sure it's the wrong thing. Let the existential dread set in. Make a pact with myself to break out of this pattern tomorrow.
You have to get everything done, man.
Repeat pattern tomorrow.
Who wants it?
You guys, I think I figured out how to describe masking to neurotypical people. You know when you go into a job interview and you're speaking to like the authority figure, and like you're putting on an act? It's like that, but all the time.
All right, let's talk about the 8 executive functions and how they can go wrong, aka executive dysfunction. Number 1 is impulse control. So when this executive function is working well, it means that you can listen to the thoughts that come into your mind, but you don't necessarily have to act on them, especially not immediately. When you have executive dysfunction in this area, it means that you might act on your impulses immediately, or you may struggle to act on your impulses at all and feel totally trapped. Number 2 is emotional regulation. When this is going well, it means that you can feel an emotion, but it doesn't completely take you over. As you may have guessed, when you have executive dysfunction in this area, it means that the emotions completely take you over, or you're completely unable to feel your emotions. Number 3 is flexible thinking. So when this is working well, it means that you're able to adapt to change. And when you have executive dysfunction in this area, it means that change is really, really hard for you. You have a set way of doing things, a set way of thinking about things, and deviating from that is really hard. Number 4 is working memory. So when this is working well, you're able to hold information in your head.
Like, why the hell you wanna play me that way? You're bad, babe. You double-faced entendre. Life goes on and on and on and on and on.
Excuses that sound like bullshit unless you have ADHD, and then you're like, yeah, that scans.
Oh, I didn't respond to your message. I cleared the notification, so yeah.
Okay, so Getting a diagnosis at 21 was extremely hard. I, at first, was diagnosed with anxiety and depression when I was 17, when I was a senior in high school, and I was being treated just by taking different SSRIs and stuff like that, no therapy or anything, until I was 21. That didn't work because I was just on medication and I wasn't going to therapy or anything like that. So I was just being medicated without treating any of the actual issues. It wasn't until I was 21 when I started having extreme panic attacks, extreme sensory overload. I could barely like look at my phone because I would get headaches, like lights and stuff like that. I would shut down. I'd have meltdowns constantly every single day. And that's when I decided that I needed to go to therapy. I had been to a few different therapists, but only for intake appointments. The problem was that they were all white and typically males. Now, I say this is a problem because I have past trauma and I was never comfortable being in those situations and being vulnerable with those therapists. So I was always masking. So they could never see what was really wrong since I was masking and acting the entire time that I was in those sessions. It wasn't until I found a Black female therapist who I was very comfortable with, where I could actually have conversations with her and let my guard down, and I wasn't masking, and she noticed different things that I was doing, that I wasn't making eye contact and stuff like that. And that's when I found out that I actually had autism. I was able to talk to her about the things that I was struggling with very openly, and I had just started writing them all down, and telling her I have been having trouble with sensory things, I've been having trouble with this and that, and that's when she was able to diagnose me with autism, and we were able to work on things from there. I think the biggest thing is definitely finding a therapist that you are comfortable with, that you trust, that you can talk to, which I know is extremely hard. It took me years to find a therapist that I was comfortable with. But yeah, that was when I was finally able to open up and got some answers.
Two productivity hacks that actually work for your ADHD brain. Hack 1. Have a willing participant sit with you while you work. Many people with ADHD find it easier to complete tasks when someone's there to keep them company. Hack 2. Never read again, because listening is faster. There's a Chrome extension that I use that will literally read anything out to you for free. So now I can multitask by listening to my emails while working on my newest hobby. Just go to Speechify.com or follow the link in my bio to add the extension to your computer for free.
Thank you, Speechify.
It's the last week of ADHD Awareness Month, and I wanted to talk about some of the misconceptions of ADHD that I didn't know to question until I started looking into it. The representation of ADHD in media has frequently been shown as hyperactivity in kids, often boys who can't sit still and are easily distracted. But in reality, ADHD presents itself in a variety of ways depending on the person. ADHD is also a spectrum disorder, meaning that there's a collection of traits, and you can exhibit more or less of each, and this all comes together to impact how you function as a person. Here's my ADHD trait wheel. You can see that my inattention and inflexibility traits are quite high, but I think that the inflexibility can also be attributed to autism. The rate of co-occurrence between ADHD and autism is quite high, and ADHD is often comorbid with anxiety, depression, and substance misuse. So it's common for ADHD to be overlooked or mistreated, especially in minority populations. I'll put the ADHD spectrum test in the comments if you're interested in taking it.
Good evening, good evening. Just a little one thing I would like to talk about. I'm doing a project on neurodivergent, the neurodivergent community on TikTok, the ADHD community and the autism community. Like, you know, our community, and I'm looking at how within our community it is actually a site of knowledge production within the era that we stay in, and how as a site of knowledge production it is credible within anthropology as for a digital means of anthropology. So I'm currently on like 45 minutes and like I've got 500 TikTok videos that I need to go through, but I would just love to hear your experiences about your story of really. So please stitch this or something, and yeah, let me know. Much love, dude. Doo-doo. This is a visual depiction of me just looking out the fucking window because I don't know what to do with my life. What the fuck is going on? Oh, there we go. Happy 22nd birthday to me!
Being when the love of your life points at a bird, look at the fucking bird. It's the small things that create connection. In fact,
Neurodivergent people can tell right away if you're not interested in what they're talking about, and feigning interest for the sake of your partner, while that seems at face value the right thing to do, I think it doesn't open up an opportunity for authentic communication. For example, I have lots of hyperfocuses and I love to info dump them on my boyfriend. Instead of him feigning interest for my sake, he will tell me, hey, I'm really interested in you and what you have to say, and I'm all here to hear your info dump, but I'm not very interested in this topic. So if I don't seem very engaged, it's just because it's not my thing. I recommend doing that because what that does for me is it puts me in a place where I have permission to info dump, but when they give me signals that they're not interested, it's not going to bother me, okay? Because I still have permission to info dump and tell them everything I'm excited about. Open and honest communication is always the play.
Hey bro, did you ever get to finish that video on the difference between stimming and tics?
You know I didn't.
Let me guess, your ADHD got you distracted and you heard stim and started looking up something about stimulus checks. Come on, you know me better than that. I didn't do that. Oh, good. But I did hear tick and I started looking up the evolutionary reason to why we're ticklish. So there are two forms of tickling. One is called nismesis, and that's that feeling of that you get when somebody rubs your skin slowly. That particular sensation causes you to want to rub or scratch, but it doesn't cause you to laugh. That particular form of tickling is called gargalesis, which is caused by a harder touch or stroke, and it releases a mixture of both pleasure and pain chemicals in your brain. Now, see, nismesis makes sense because if a small insect gets on you, you want to be able to brush it off. You want to know it's there, brush it off. It's also observed in other mammals, so if a fly lands on like a zebra or a horse or something, it may whip its tail. Gargalesis, however, is a little different. It's actually only observed in primates, including humans. So, for example, if you tickle a chimp, it will let out a laughless pant. And all primates are ticklish in the same spot. Now, why do we evolve this way? Think about where we're ticklish at. Under the neck, under the arms, around the ribs, on your stomach, on your legs, around the femoral arteries. These are all vital places, things that we don't want to get hurt. Now, think about what we do when we are tickled. We tend to curl up, we tend to kick, we tend to fight off the tickler. This is what's known as tickle play. So at a very young age, we're actually teaching ourselves which parts of our bodies need to be protected. So why do we laugh if we don't necessarily like being tickled? Well, my friend, you have your brain to thank for that. Well, smiling and laughing is a form of positive communication. So if two children are tickling each other, the smiling is telling the other child, hey, more, I like this, keep going. Whereas if they were to look angry or crying, the child will more than likely stop tickling. But these are skills that we needed to learn early to ensure our survival. So of course our brains adapted to enjoy it. Can't you just like once focus on the task at hand?
Today we're going to talk more about the relationship between sex and ADHD, so if you don't want to see this kind of content, grab a fruit snack on the way out. Also, y'all know that if you stay, you also get a fruit snack, right? I'm a certified sex educator, and today we're going to learn a fun new word. Arousal non-concordance. So what does that mean? It's when your sexy time feels don't match. Because sometimes what's going on in your head doesn't match what's going on with the rest of your body. And this is an issue that many ADHDers deal with. Because sometimes our body can be turned on, but our head is definitely not in the game. And sometimes our head can be in the game, but our body isn't cooperating in the way that we want. But here's the thing. The way that we've been taught to think about arousal and desire is a lie. Not everybody can just instantly be in the mood and ready to go. But movies would be a lot longer if we had to show 25 minutes of conversation and foreplay first. Being patient with yourself and your partner is really important, especially if you have ADHD and it's challenging for you to get in the mood and stay in the mood and get out of your head.
Let's talk the power of processing. All right, I am a firm believer that the neurodivergent brain can process things so much faster than the average person. All right, so how do I know this? Well, this is a personal experience that I go through. I also asked a couple of my other people in my life that have neurodivergent brains if things like just feel slow and if things just feel like they drag on, and a lot of them say yes. So yeah, this is not a formal scientific study, but it is so cool that I get to do this on TikTok to see who's actually processing. And if you notice, I'm going to start speaking a little bit more faster, and I'm going to speak this rate for the rest of the video. So you can actually understand this. This is on a regular speed right now when I'm recording, and I'm kind of speaking pretty quickly. So that speaks to how awesome your brain is. It is really cool. Yes, there are drawbacks to ADHD, but processing things really fast can sometimes be really fun too. So if you can hear me, I want you to comment your favorite movie. If you heard me, you will be commenting this, and you can integrate it into the sentence and make it, casual if you want to. But comment your favorite movie, so I know you understood what I was saying.
I am so good at masking. No one would ever realize I was autistic if I didn't say anything.
Look, there she goes, that girl is so peculiar. I wonder if she's feeling well.
With a dreamy, far-off look,
And her nose stuck in a book. What a puzzle to the rest of us is Belle.
smack my ass like a drum. Don't walk away. You get your ass over here. You come smack my ass like a drum. You hear me? You say that to my fucking face and you come smack this ass like a drum, okay?
Let's talk the power of processing. All right, I am a firm believer that the neurodivergent brain can process things so much faster than the average person. All right, so how do I know this? Well, this is a personal experience that I go through. I also asked a couple of my other people in my life that have neurodivergent brains if things like just feel slow and if things just feel like they drag on, and a lot of them say yes. So yeah, this is not a formal scientific study, but it is so cool that I get to do this on TikTok to see who's actually processing. And if you notice, I'm going to start speaking a little bit more faster, and I'm going to speak this rate for the rest of the video, so you can actually understand this. This is on regular speed right now when I'm recording, and I'm kind of speaking pretty quickly. So that speaks to how awesome your brain is. It is really cool. Yes, there are drawbacks to ADHD, but processing things really fast can sometimes be really fun too. So if you can hear me, I want you to comment your favorite movie. If you heard me, you will be commenting this, and you can integrate it into the sentence and make it, casual if you want to. But comment your favorite movie, so I know you understood what I was saying.
My mom be hitting my dad like, bitch, 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 and they be fighting.
As a neurodivergent person, sometimes I feel like neurotypical people literally can't hear what I'm saying. And as I'm reading this book, A Field Guide for Earthlings, the second pattern that's recognized, which is symbolic interpretation, explains this. And I literally feel so seen. So it says, when symbolic filtering is in full force, things have to be believed to be seen. Incoming stimuli that can't be trapped by the symbolic web might simply be dropped from perception altogether. If there is no preconceived hole for the incoming stimulus to fit through, it can't be seen. So what this means is that when a neurotypical receives information that doesn't fit into their understanding of how the world works, they literally might ignore it. And this is wild because sometimes I'll say something like, oh, I don't want to go here because I will feel anxious. And somebody goes, like, okay, like they're pissed with me because they've assumed, because their symbolic web says when I don't want to go somewhere with them, it's because I'm mad at them. They've assumed that because I don't want to go, it's because they're angry with me, or because I'm angry with them. Or like one time my boyfriend at the time was going to come to my school, to go to my school, my college, and I told my sister about it, and she was like, how do you feel? And I was like, I feel overwhelmed, I feel confused. And she looks at me for a second, and she goes, I don't know. I think you just don't want to tell me how you're feeling. And I'm like, what? And what I realize now is that she has a stencil of how you would feel in that situation, and my feelings didn't align with what she thought I should feel. And so she literally dropped the information that I was giving her about my emotional state and decided it was wrong. It couldn't fit into her stencil, and so it was wrong. She can't perceive it. And I just feel this over and over and over with neurotypical people. Like, they say, oh, why don't you want to go to this restaurant? And I say, oh, it's because, like, the lighting is too bright and the people are too loud. And they're like, she just wants me not to get to choose. And I'm like, excuse me, just because that doesn't make sense to you doesn't mean that it's not true for me. But because it doesn't make sense in their way that they understand the world, they literally drop the information that I gave them about my experience. I can't. It's unintentional gaslighting. And it happens because the two people are so different in the way that they experience the world that, like, literally one person can't conceive this information that they would not understand because they don't experience it.
This is my impression of how every therapist opens their office door for your appointment.
Hi, ready?
My mom be hitting my dad like, bitch, 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 and they be fighting.
Hi, the first thing that you should know about me is that I have ADHD. The second thing that you are going to find out within the next few seconds is that I just bought a tattoo gun for like 22 bucks on Amazon. Why am I looking good in this? Is the beauty filter was on. I don't like looking good in things that, well, yeah, I just got a tattoo gun. Here it is. I think it's this thing, and then I've got like, this is so stupid and amazing. I'm so happy. And now I'm gonna cut to the organization. God, fuck, just die. The organization of all of this, because I am so ADHD. I swear that's not my only personality trait. Although it might be the source of all of them. Okay, I think I've actually fixed the fucking light now. Oh my god, my hair. Everything is bad, but not really, because this is the tattoo gun itself. That's, yeah. Okay, now there's, the instruction manual. Under normal circumstances, I would not read this. But this is a tattoo gun, and even I'm not that stupid. Warning number 1. We do not recommend beginners to tattoo on humans' skin. Humans' skin. If there are no professionals prepare working or professional aftercare, the wound may be infected. The gun is finished. Here's the pedal, control box, gun all hooked up. That's pretty cool. Next. To be clear, I haven't practiced on anything. Not fake skin, not anybody else, no fruit, no potatoes, no fucking shit. I'm just doing this straight on myself. So fuck. Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Do you know what? Fuck this. No more being down. Let's get this show on the road. Right, let's crank the tunes up, everyone.
You know what?
Oh my gosh, ADHD is so quirky. I just stood in front of a bookcase for fucking God knows how long because I picked up a book, didn't even think, oh, I might sit over there and read that. As soon as I picked it up, gone. I was gone. I stood in front of the bookcase reading that book for however long it took me to get to page 53. It took me getting to page 53 to go, fuck, this isn't what I'm meant to be doing.
Whenever I complain about my mom in therapy, my therapist is like, did you ever consider talking to your mom about how you feel? And this is exactly how that would go. Hey mom, sometimes when you say that stuff, it makes me feel... I get it, I'm a terrible mom and I've always been a terrible mom and I've done nothing for you. Is that what you're trying to say? Tell me how you really feel. I'm a dumb bitch and I should just kill myself.
You know what sucks the most about having ADHD besides all the other stuff that sucks? Motivational videos, okay? They don't work on us because we'll watch the motivational video and we'll be so invested in it, and then we'll forget that we have a mental disorder that like sometimes enjoys to paralyze us to our chairs, and then we just get angry at ourselves because we're like, we're not on the grind. We're not on the grind. Get on the grind. Like we can't do that.
Has anyone ever told you that you are too sensitive? I hear that a lot. I've heard that a lot as somebody with ADHD. I am very sensitive to rejection. There's an actual term for this. Rejection sensitivity is the term for it in research. You may have heard the term rejection sensitive dysphoria, which was coined by Dr. William Dodson, which has not been researched yet, but it's all essentially emotional dysregulation related to the fact that we have a history of being rejected. ADHDers experience way more corrections than our neurotypical peers. We often don't fit in. We often have trouble making friends and keeping friends. And so it's something that we experience a lot. One of the things that helps me the most, and it was actually validated by the research that I came across when I did a video on the channel about rejection sensitivity, this strategy is just to have a dog. There's research saying that even looking at pictures of dogs and naming dogs can help with rejection sensitivity. So I was rejected. First thing I did, grab my dog.